The achievements of WTO. Since the WTO came into being in the year 1995, the world has witnessed massive changes. New technologies have transformed the way we live. There is a change in communication sector and in trade areas. Before 1995, only 0.8% of the world's population was using internet. But in June 2019, it was around 57% population which was using internet. All this was possible only through the World Trade Organization. So the restrictive measures which were taken by countries facing balance of payment problems has declined. Services trade has been brought into multilateral system and many countries opening their markets for trade and investment. It has become a multilateral system. In those days, it was mainly bilateral. What is bilateral? Trade between two countries is called as bilateral. For example, if there is an agreement between India and China, only India and China will have trade activities. India will export something and they will import something from China. That is called as bilateral. Trade is taking place only between two countries. But due to the WTO, trade has been happening between many countries. Many countries came forward to open their markets for trade and investment. The barrier has been broken by WTO. Then WTO, when it was set up, it was designed to function as a watchdog. What do you mean by watchdog? It was there to monitor the trade activities between countries. It was playing the role of a watchdog in the spheres of trade in goods and services, foreign investment, and intellectual property rights. So the trade policy review mechanism has created a process of continuous monitoring of trade policy development. So WTO has been constantly monitoring all the member countries' trade activities. So these are the achievements of WTO. Now let us see WTO and India. India is the founding member of WTO. What do you mean by founding member? When was WTO established? WTO was established in the year 1995. So since 1995, India is a member of WTO. That is the meaning of founding member. Initially, when WTO was founded, India was a member of WTO and still is a member of WTO. So India is the founding member of WTO. And India enjoys MFN status. What do you mean by MFN status? It is the most favored nation. And India benefited from WTO in many ways. So what are the ways in which India was benefited? By reducing the tariff rates on raw materials, components, and capital goods, it was able to import more for meeting her developmental requirements. India's imports goes on increasing. So what has happened because of the reduction in the tariff? What do you mean by tariff? When goods enter a country or when goods go out of a country, we have to pay a tax which is called as tariff. In those days, the tariff was really high and countries hesitated to import or export goods because of the huge tariff. But WTO has cut down the tariff rates. So this has helped in India's imports. India started importing more goods from other countries. India started importing raw materials and capital goods from other countries to meet her developmental requirements. So India is a developing country. It has got a lot of expenditures. It has got lot of developmental requirements. To satisfy all these requirements, India started importing goods. And India started importing more and more because of the reduction in the tariffs. So India has been benefited highly because of WTO. And India gets market access in several countries without any bilateral trade agreements. India is got into trade, or India is trading with several countries. We do not have any bilateral trade agreements. Already I've told you what is meant by bilateral trade. Trade agreements between two countries is called as bilateral, but India has got many countries to trade with. So India gets market access in several countries. Indian products are bought by many countries. At the same time, India also procures goods from many other countries. Then advanced technology has been obtained at cheaper cost, and India is in a better position to get quick redressal from the trade disputes. What do you mean by redressal? Redressal means remedy or composition. So whenever India goes with a problem, it has been solved immediately by the WTO. So whenever India has got some grievance, WTO is willing to sort it out immediately. So whenever there is a problem in trade dispute between countries, WTO is willing to help India and it sorts out the problem immediately. Indian exporters are benefited. The Indian exporters benefited from the wider market information. WTO keeps sending information about the world market and the products in demand. So this has enabled the Indian exporters to be benefited. So this is about WTO and India.